Good evening. We'll call the July meeting of the Hartsville-Trousdale County Planning Commission to order. First is our roll call. I believe everyone's here except Mitch. Isn't that right? So everybody but Mitch is present. That's good. Next is our approval of the minutes. You've had these minutes. Has anybody noticed any corrections or changes or additions that need to be made to the minutes? If not, I would accept a motion to accept the minutes, to approve them. Did you make motion by Heather, second by Cal to approve the minutes from last month? Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. So carried. Are there any changes or additions to our agenda tonight that anybody knows anything about?
I would like to suggest that under the report from the building official that we insert public comment. And we learned about that in our prior meeting from the BZA that the state has adopted.
Okay. Can I borrow your pen? I'll write that in.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Make motion to add that change. Have a motion by Heather to add public comments to the agenda for tonight. Second by David. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Okay, so when we get to the report from the building official, we will have a public comment time built in there. Okay, so we have no old business. Under new business, we have a rezoning request. This is of the property on Highway 25 West, 13.6 acres from TR2 to TR PUD, and an annexation of that property into the urban service district for single-story development. This is by Mr. Chris Crowder making the application. Is anyone here representing Chris? If so, would you please come up, turn that on, state your name. Good to see you back again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jared Claiborne. I'm one of the professional engineers that's working on this project from Mid-10 Engineering. So this is a resubmittal from the previous project that was submitted in the last meeting. If you can look at the preliminary master plan that has been resubmitted here, there is some revision clouds that you can see mostly towards the bottom of the page in the site data information. Those are more clarification. We had a pretty productive meeting between Miss Amanda and Miss Rosalie and our staff after the last meeting to just kind of go over this and just discuss the items in the rules and regulations so that we're all on the same page. And so we made all the revisions that we were requested to do. Then as a follow-up from the last meeting, I know we promised that we would provide the will serve letters. So I don't know if they're in your packet, but I know they were submitted. We have the water and sewer from the Hartsville-Trousdale Water and Sewer Utility District. And then we also have the Tri-County Electric will serve letter. And then there was 2 comments that we received. The will serve letter was one of them. And then there was a slight typo on zoning classification. So.
Thanks, sir. Does any commissioner have any questions for this gentleman at this time? Okay. So we looked at this last month. I haven't looked. It's still 80 units.
Yes, sir. It'd be 80 townhomes.
Okay.
And the will serve letters directly address the density of the proposal.
Right. Okay. Uh, Rosalie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in reviewing the submittal, all the items that we had suggested and requested that they do, they did fulfill that. The will serve letters, updating the zoning classification. And then also, you do see there too, the fire hydrant, and we were talking about making sure that we have fire protection for this area. Um, Everything looks good to me. Thank you so much.
Sorry. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Rosalie? David?
And I guess this might actually be for as much Heather as it is Rosalie. I see the water department has given a letter saying that they have sufficient. I'm confused because for over a year now, we've been hearing how that's getting closer and closer to running out of capacity. We've already approved a subdivision there off of 25 on the other side of town over by me in Hickory Ridge. How's our capacity looking? And I mean, do we actually have a capacity issue? Because we keep approving subdivisions. So I'm confused, looking for some clarification.
Well, the way I understood it was that there were certain roads that might have capacity issues and not capacity issues in general, but I could be mistaken. Heather, would you like to address that?
Looking at growth and capacity as a whole for the department, for the water and sewer department. But we definitely have down certain roads, we are short on many areas for providing such volume that would be needed for such the 80. When you're looking at 80 homes, I think I said before, you're looking at somewhere between 28,000 gallons a day if you've got a family of 4. So you could, you put irrigation in there, you could be 32,000 gallons. I don't recall how many homes were on the 25, the Hickory Ridge project, but I think it was under the 80 for sure. So with those two offers, we are still able to meet based on this letter and the volume. So the letter states the law. The letter states that we're offering exactly what they need, and we're not shortfalling them at this time. And that is what we're looking at. But we might foresee that in other locations. Now, tomorrow night, we are working on our work session with the department. We have to look at our new set of plans because we are preparing for this growth and this lack of demand across the entire county and to everywhere that we service. So there is a shortage. It's just a lot more in other places than some. And this one right now, they might want to go buy 80 meters really quick. So because they're at a place where they're at capacity, and 28 to 32,000 gallons and a 2 million gallon a day system. That's not like a commercial project, which is going to come in and could easily take somewhere between 100 to 300,000 gallons a day. So, but we do have to walk softly, and they're okay in this one. So thank you for asking and caring.
Thank you, Heather. Ms. Rosalie?
And in speaking with the water department and with Mid-10 Engineering, they did do all the different calculations on the usage and what the needs would be. Thus, they did receive a service letter. So that does check that box. Also, I will say too, I didn't say this before, but for the annexation, I did have them also speak with Public Works, because if they are annexed, they will also need to have trash service pickup, and that'll be addressed. They did talk with Mr. Salee, and if you'd like to share what he did say.
So Stephen spoke with him, and I believe the agreement was they was going to do a centralized dumpster location. So, but they was good with it. And as far as water goes, what we do, Mr. Thompson, is we do a model for the whole system. So we have a whole model for the district's water system, tanks involved and all the services. And then we put that property in with a max peak flow that the state requires us, which is 2 gallons per minute per house per day. And then that model will give us alerts if we've got volume restrictions in other areas because of this. Now, most of everything that we do is based on peaks that we never see, but we just have to foresee that in case something were to happen. But in this circumstance, we have placed this property in a model of the whole system and didn't find any issues.
David?
So, and the reason I wanted to have an explanation was because I keep getting asked with all the development and the discussions of us getting close to capacity. They were wanting to know why. Why are we approving these developments if we're getting close to capacity? So I just needed an answer and I appreciate it.
Sure. That's a good question. I mean, when you, as we've discussed before, down certain roads, certain areas, until we ask the question, we don't know where those areas are. So it's a good question, good explanation. And obviously, everybody involved thinks they can handle the flow and everything for this project.
Mr. Chair, also I'd like to point out, in times past, we have asked for these will serve letters from other water utilities in the district as well. If you recall, we did ask that of Fleming Homes when they built on Bass Road and Templo Road, that they did have to provide us a letter from the Castellian Springs Bethpage Water Utility.
Right. Yeah, I believe there was a time down on 231 where Castellian's 231 North was having issues providing water to some new homes and kind of had a little bit of a moratorium there, but they got that issue straight some time ago. Okay. Are you ready? Mr. Nyler, sorry. Mr.
I have
Nyler's
a-
got a question.
I have a concern. You got 80 homes there, or single homes or whatever. There's gonna be at least two vehicles. I was concerned about the traffic. I don't know if that area can handle in the morning at 7 o'clock or school bus trying to get in. I think it's a problem. I think it's gonna be a problem, traffic. Concerned about it.
Okay, well, that's a logical concern. That traffic will come out onto Sulphur College. The majority of it would then turn left and go either right or left on Highway 25, depending upon where they're heading. The roads will be built to specifications which would allow a school bus to go down there, turn around, be able to come back out. But so you got a concern? Anything else you want to say about that? Other
I
than
think maybe I don't know if everybody else agree, but I think we need to have a traffic study made by the state.
who does traffic studies? Or how do you get a traffic study? Do we know?
So in this situation, a private traffic study for a development would be done by a traffic engineer. We don't do traffic studies. We do have a firm out of Franklin that usually does them for us that we've worked with in the past. In this situation, I do want to remind that this is not a approval of this design. It's approval of the rezone. So anything like a traffic study that comes up will have to be hammered out in the actual design. So if there's any improvements at Sulphur College, or if TDOT requires improvements, TDOT is very strict on things now, and there's a very good chance that they will come back with requirements, turning lanes and things like that to be added to Sulphur College that would be shown in a traffic study. So for this, we're more just requesting a rezone and then to hammer out all the designs later.
So I guess that at a traffic study.
No.
Go ahead, you address that.
No, that's in a traditional rezoning, you would be correct, but with a PUD, they are approving a preliminary master plan, which is part of this design. That's what we've been going around. That's why this plan.
But
had
the
to be-
road is not being designed with this. The actual road itself is not designed in this.
If I may. So when this goes forward to the county legislative body, that is an option that the county legislative body could approve that with a condition that it goes forward with the recommendation from the planning commission, that it goes forward with a recommendation from the planning commission that the rezoning and this preliminary master plan goes forward with a recommendation for a traffic study to be completed, or the rezoning and the approval of this preliminary master plan could go forward with a condition that a traffic study goes forward when it comes back to the planning commission. But I want to be sure that everybody understands procedure. This is not a typical rezoning. This is a PUD. And with the PUD goes this preliminary master plan. When this goes up to county legislative body, they're locking in this plan. They're not locking in the specifics of the road and everything like that, but this is the plan that they are locking in that's going to come back to planning commission. That's why we spent so much time on the details.
So if I understand you right, the planning commission could approve this, or if they approved it tonight, could with a stipulation to the county commission that we request the county commission to require a traffic study.
Right. So what this body has the opportunity to do tonight is recommend this preliminary master plan with the rezoning with this preliminary master plan with a recommendation for a private traffic study to be completed by the developer. And the county legislative body can then take that up as part of their deliberations. But
Either take that out, keep it in, whatever they decide to do.
and they could decide that they do want to see a traffic study, but not at this point in time. They might want to see it when it comes back to the planning commission for a final master plan.
Okay.
But that's up to that. Ultimately, that could be up to the county legislative body at the rezoning portion of it, which locks in the preliminary master plan, or when it comes back to the planning commission here, you all could decide to require that at that point in time.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I would like to note,
Everybody?
though, a traffic study is going to be a study of the functioning of Sulphur College, which will be a recommendation of the improvements that will need to be made. It is not going to be to me, this is a cap of, they are allowed to cap this development at this number of units. And the design's going to be dealt with later with this body. A traffic study is going to say what has to be done or doesn't have to be done to Sulphur College to make it work.
That's all right.
But it's not going to come back and say this development cannot go here. It's going to say you need to put in a left turn, a widening the road is 90% of the recommendation, and widening the road will be a turning lane. But it's not going to come back and say that this road it's just going to be a recommendation of what you need to do to increase the safety of that road and that intersection.
Right. It's more, it would be recommendations of road improvement to assist the people living there to ingress and egress out of the subdivision. Do you have some more?
Sorry, the report. No, the applicant has been extraordinarily responsive to all of the comments from the last meeting. We had a really great, as he was saying, we had a really great meeting. Really appreciate the ability to work with them. And I have no outstanding comments, so. No.
Okay. Discussion, any questions? Okay.
Just following up on, make sure I'm understanding correctly. We can add a stipulation to our proposal for the county commission. They can then decide to accept that stipulation or remove it.
I don't think it's a stipulation as much as a
Recommendation.
Or recommendation.
Yeah.
Can the county commission add anything, or can they just remove things?
No, the county commission can also add things.
So if we were, as a body, were to miss something, or they they want to add something additional, they could,
Mhm.
before, they're the final approval. on
They're
it.
the final arbiter of everything rezoning.
Okay.
And
As
then-
I say at all of our meetings, we can't rezone anything. We can recommend, but the county commission is the final say, period.
And in this instance, again, it's a little bit different because this is a PUD. So they do have a final say over the design, but there's a checklist that goes with that PUD.
Mhm.
And that's what we've gone over in the trainings and things like that. So they've met their checklist. So, you know, to add anything additional, you'd have to have a pretty good reason to add something else. But something like a traffic study, there's a little bit more discretion at the county legislative body, just like any other rezoning. If somebody wanted to take something from ag to industrial and they wanted to have a traffic study, that wouldn't be out of the ordinary. You know, depending on the truck traffic and movements and things like that. I mean, that's something that wouldn't be, you know, you probably wouldn't blink twice at. So a development coming in, you know, 80 homes is probably not a huge impact. I'm not completely familiar with Sulphur College Road, or Drive or the classification of the road.
It's-
But just as.
It's just a country road.
Just as the gentleman was saying, you know, what they'll do is they'll probably look at, you know, things within like maybe a half mile or a quarter mile or something like that. Look at the improvements, make sure the level of service is good. You know, that it doesn't go from, you know, an A to an F. Make sure that the road's wide enough to accommodate, you know, any kind of turning movements. If there's any schools in the area, you know, that there's a, you know, school drop off, emergency vehicles, you know, those type of things. But there would be a scoping meeting that would go into it. I don't imagine that TDOT would be involved. I didn't see, you know, a nexus for the state to get involved. Not really.
So
TDOT will not allow us an entrance because we have access to local road.
Yeah.
I do want to say, this rezone is a cap, essentially. This property, based on the regulations of this PUD, can handle per the rules, can take 163 units. So what we're doing is we're requesting a PUD for 80 units, which caps them. So we can't come back, even if it goes through the county twice and then comes back to y'all, we can't come back with 81 units. We can come back with 79 or 78, but we can't come back with 81. So this property, this rezone is a cap. The road and stuff is just a typical, is what you would say. When you see this back, you're going to get a set of plans that are 20 sheets of plans, and it's going to be a full-blown design. If we do a traffic study, say we widen the road at Sulphur College, say we put a turning lane on our development going to Sulphur College, those are the things that will be hammered out later. I understand the safety, but a rezone is most often, I understand it's not a typical rezone, but this rezone still kind of falls in the same category. It's capping the property of its what they are able to do, and it's not necessarily setting forth the requirements of do we have to put a turning lane in Sulphur College right now? It's coming. We will have to, because my license states that safety is public is first. But right now, we're basically asking to cap this property at 80 units. And full understanding that safety is an issue that we will address to make sure that it works. I just want everybody, we would be able to ask for 160 units here if the owner would have wanted to. And the reason why we didn't is because it didn't fit. It couldn't fit within the property, even though that the rules allowed it.
Okay. So I don't think any of the, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but my concern would not be the number of units. It would be ingress and egress on the road. And if I understand our advisors right, we can, whoever makes a motion for this property could request the county commission look at requiring a road or traffic study. Okay. David, did you have something?
I did. And I want the applicant to be absolutely clear that this is not at all like a traditional rezone.
Yes, no, it's not.
The design is part of the rezoning. That is what a PUD is. So when it goes to the full commission needs to be able to look at everything that this body has done, look at what's presented to them and say, yes or no, we want this project in this location. That's the whole purpose of a PUD. So that the county knows what they're approving ahead of time. So the idea of, well, this is just a rough draft and no, what you're presenting is what you're locking in, the layout, the how many parking spots you've got, how many units you've got, where your buffers are, that is all being locked in when we approve it as the full commission. Now, when it comes back, we can make adjustments to what's been approved, but only in slight variations. Any major changes, it has to go back for another rezoning. So I don't know where the confusion for the applicant has come, or that hasn't been clearly stated enough times. But I want to make sure that everyone understands that process, that this design is part of it. And I think the full commission really does that. The traffic on all of our developments has been the main thing that keeps coming up for these rezones is, okay, you're doing an open rezone for R3. How many units can go on it? Okay, what's that traffic look like? The congestion for the area. I think by dumping everything out onto Sulphur College, TDOT knew what it was doing, because that hill there, anywhere they were to dumped onto 25, been an egress outgress there onto 25 would have been, I mean, it'd been terrible. I mean, you coming over the hill there at Crenshaw, it would have been dangerous for coming onto the road and people coming back and forth. At least at Sulphur College, you're at the bottom, so you can see the top of both hills. But you are going to have, I mean, 80 units, 2 cars a unit. It's 160 cars sitting there that at any one time, you're going to have somewhere, you could easily have 20 or 30 trying to get out at one time. So I'd like to make a motion to send this forward with a favorable, contingent on the commission seeing a traffic study before they take the first vote on it.
I don't know if we make it contingent, we can, or just a recommendation.
The recommendation?
Yeah.
So I would like the commission on their first vote to be able to have the opportunity to see that traffic pattern beforehand. So is there, I know if we just do it now, it's going to go to the first vote this month, correct? Or can we postpone it going to the full commission till that study is presented?
I don't know that there's a basis for the planning commission to postpone it again, because they've met their boxes. So, and this
County
body,
commission has more authority than we do.
do you all do 2 readings at county commission? Then I would recommend that you all move it through planning commission, and then at your first reading at the legislative body, have that be a condition of approval at your, for the second.
Reading.
Yeah, before second.
That's what I was thinking.
If that is the will of the legislative
'Cause
body.
I want to give the applicant enough time to be able to conduct the study without any undue delay.
Have you had a study like this before? I don't know.
I've done countless, worked with, it's T2 Squared Engineering out of Franklin that does these for us most time. And we've done countless studies on these kind of situations. Most of the time it's commercial developments and trying to get a traffic flow. All I can go by is what the rules state. And the rules state, and me and Miss Amanda and Rosalie have discussed this at a great length. The rules state that this preliminary master plan for the proposed plan unit development shall be a general concept, is the line A of the checklist. Now, it does state shall include the following items. Every one of those items are a general, broad minimum, but they are not a design requirement to say that you are locked into, we've got a 22 typical foot road called out right now. If we go to 24 foot, it's not a design requirement in these rules right here. It is the line 1A states that this is a general concept with these requirements. And me and Rosalie and Amanda have went through these line by line. We all discussed at length, line by line, to make sure that we addressed every single one of these requirements. We're perfectly fine with a traffic study. All I'm saying is a traffic study is a design portion, and not a general concept portion, because a general concept is you can do 80 units. The design would be, traffic study says, what does it take to make 80 units work?
About how long does a traffic study take to complete, just for my knowledge?
That's going to get to how fast can they get to it? I mean, typically a couple,
understand.
3-4 weeks, but if they're
Behind.
If they're 6 to 8 weeks.
It'd be a scheduling issue.
If they're 6 to 8 weeks behind, then yes, it could be
Right.
a scheduling issue. In this case, we're not going to go be out, we're doing a proposed development. So most time traffic studies, if TDOT's doing a traffic study, they put those little black loops that you see on the road, and all that is an air loop, and it's counting cars. That is a traffic study to see what the volume on the road is. This is a proposed volume. So it's a little bit quicker, but they still have to take TDOT's numbers on Highway 25 and then have to look at sulfur calls to see what it's already got. But that is a design concern of how to make this work.
Yeah.
And it's not actually a part of,
I think we understand that it's not a part of the development itself. It's I think if I get the will of the commission, it's the commission advising the county commission that we may think, we hadn't voted, but we may think that a traffic study would be pertinent to what they need to do in order to approve this or not, or to move forward with it. And did I say that right? Yes, sir.
So, and I do understand minimums. I also understand this is the first PUD to go before the commission.
Right.
Who has never done a PUD before.
Yeah, I was about to say,
And
they
if
may.
you want it approved, you won't be doing minimums. That there is a certain amount of, you need to give the next body as much information going forward so that they can make an informed decision based on their first time making this decision. The other issue we run into is we're about to have an election, and there's a good chance at least a third of that commission is going to get changed over and is going to have to be educated all over again on what a PUD is.
Yeah, that's a good point. The
So-
current commission would hear the first reading,
Mhm.
the new commission would hear the second reading.
So I'm trying to help the applicant the best I can with getting what looks like a beautiful project. I'm not trying to stop the project in any way. Matter of fact, I just made a motion to send it forward with a favorable, but I'm trying to give the applicant enough information so that they can provide enough to actually get it passed.
Kind of giving a hint. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. David, would you repeat your motion just since we've
Yes,
discussed it for a while?
I have to, I guess, and actually I'd have to amend what I actually was wanting to do. So I make a motion to send this forward with approval, with a recommendation that a traffic study be done before a final approval on this for the full commission.
And that's what you second. Okay, so we have a motion to send this forward with a favorable recommendation from this body, with a request from this body that the county commission consider asking for a traffic study. Is that what everybody understands? Did I get that right?
You did.
Okay. Discussion? Katie, you look like you got a question. Or you're like me, not sure. It is our first PUD for this body and the county commission. And as like anything, the first time you do something, it's confusing. I think we noticed that last month when y'all were here the first time. So, I would think the county commission could be equally as confused. Heather?
Is there a layer of what type of traffic study is being requested within this recommendation? The reason I ask is we've created a PUD and given them a set of guidelines and boxes to check, and they've done what we've asked them to do. So is this something that the county can do themselves within the director of roads? Or is this something that has to be done by a third-party entity?
I don't know. Do you know?
the traffic study
Yeah,
itself
we-
has to,
We have.
it has to be done by a third party entity as far as a true traffic study, because it has to be designed and stamped by an engineer, because they are making a recommendation of what would
Okay.
need to be changed.
I'd also like to address the fact that this is not he made the statement that, well, we've checked all the boxes. That's why I was making the statement that with a rezoning, asking for a traffic study is not outside the realm of something that would be normal to ask for.
Okay.
This is not, as much as you can make the argument and would like to make the argument that this is part of a design standard, it's not. The county legislative body has a broad stroke of discretion when looking at rezonings. In this instance, in this instance, it is like a traditional rezoning. I know it's confusing to switch back and forth and what's traditional and what's not, but there is a broad stroke of discretion that the county legislative body has. They can ask for a traffic assessment or a traffic impact study. A traffic impact study is the lesser of the wait, let me make sure I'm getting that right. I get these two mixed up and you could probably help me. The traffic assessment is the lesser of the two. The traffic impact study is the one that's more in depth. So
And that's the question. So to clarify that you want a traffic study, not a traffic assessment,
Well, I think the county commission would make that
is
determination.
what you're looking, I was just curious to see what you're looking for.
Well, David's on the county committee, or two Davids on the
But
county
his
commission.
motion,
Based on the
Their job,
how-
they're gonna have an
it's not
extra
of his
layer
motion.
on this to help the rest of them understand what's,
Yeah.
what's before them.
based on the commission and the county's authority, it would be Sulphur College that the traffic study would be done,
Right.
because TDOT would have their own jurisdiction for 25. So I'm not saying that TDOT wouldn't require one, but as of right now, y'all's recommendation, we would be for Sulphur College.
that's right.
David,
And just a clarification on my motion, it was for the study, not the impact, but that'll be up to the county
Assessment.
commission if they want to make that change to be more in depth.
well, and I understand that it's our duty and it's our charge here for this body to determine subdivisions. And this is a prime example of a subdivision. And so that we have a little bit of leniency. I just want to make sure that the terminology of the request for the county court was exactly what your intentions were and my vote so that my vote matches what the intentions might be. So, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I don't want to make anybody think that I'm coming across as harsh or pointed on anything. Me and Rosalie talk about a lot of things. Stormwater is one of the number one things we talk about. My recommendation for this body is to use this as what do we add to our PUD requirements? If you want all these availability letters and these traffic study possible, needed, just write it in the rules. It's up to y'all to make that, but just spell it out. We may or may not put this in there. We may or may not require this. So if you want to require it, then it's really simple to say, well, go to section so-and-so. So,
just make it another check mark.
and I get that this is the first one and y'all haven't experienced this and y'all haven't dealt with the rules and things like that for this,
Right.
but that's where I'm coming. If anything that you want, put it in the rules,
Right.
and there's no gray area at all for it.
I think that's a great recommendation.
And I say that from somebody that writes a lot of these rules and stormwater regulation stuff. Just
Right.
if you want it, put it in there or amend it. So
Yeah, I think that's a very good recommendation.
Just a quick question, Mr. Claiborne. I know you said the state may very well require its own traffic study. What is the notification to the state? What does that process look like? Does the third party notify them that they're doing an assessment on a county road, or is?
So we have a pretty close relationship with the state. So most of the time in this situation, we will discuss it with them on our own, just to prevent something coming forth later. Unfortunately, sometimes if the state does not get notified aware on the front end of this, then it's more of a reactive approach. But we do work with the local and Nashville office periodically every day, just about. So we kind of have that relationship, but we're not going to let them be surprised by something.
As close as your entrance to Sulphur College is to Highway 25. I mean, it's pretty close.
Worst case scenario, you're looking at putting turning lanes onto that 25 because TDOT's not going to let you. I would be shocked if they'd even consider a traffic light there.
Right.
So worst case, you're widening the road by 11 feet and adding a turning lane.
Okay, other discussion? Commissioners, questions? I think we've had a really good discussion. I've learned a lot. Of course, you always hope to on your first one. And you've helped with the education.
And I'll encourage y'all, any of y'all that have questions, I mean, we work directly with the utility district and we work directly every day with Rosalie. So anybody that has questions of what we see in other places or what we would recommend, we're glad to help out on these. Because like I said, we dealt with this in Lafayette. The very first time we put stormwater rules in, it was like, now what? Because now you got to go off of those rules, and now you find all the problems that you have within the rules. So
Right. Thank you. Commissioners? Discussion, questions? Our advisors, anything else? We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion?
When it goes through to a commission, I've got a 53-foot truck and trailer with skid steer and whatever. Have you ever crossed Highway 25 on Suffolk College?
I have crossed the road. I haven't
Don't
pulled
have-
anything like that.
Don't have to be rush hour. If you go across, it's hard. With that many more vehicles, even turn lane, it needs looking into.
Well, I think
So
that's a
I'll
good
agree
comment
with that study.
that,
I went both ways.
right, right.
And also come down 25 and can't turn in.
Well, your comments have been made here in front of two county commissioners that I think will take that to heart. Because you do that every day. It's your line of work. So I think that's a good thing that the county commission will have, would be anxious to know about. Yes, sir.
And just to have it on the record, my reasoning for sending it forward with a favorable is because they do meet all the requirements that are in the ordinance for this project.
Right.
Do I personally agree that we need 80 units right there in that part? Well, that's for another meeting. But for this meeting, they meet all the check marks, and therefore
They've done everything this body has asked them to do. Yeah. And I congratulate them for it. If it's not right, that's our fault. Right. Other discussion? We're going to vote. I promise. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Does pass unanimously.
thank you.
Might not be a bad idea if, Rosalie, if you're, at the county commission meeting that night. I know, but I'm just saying, David, you may want to, just for education and stuff and for things to move, you may want to let the mayor know, since you are a commissioner, and he may want, some more clarifications.
actually, if by any chance there is any way on at least the work session, if you could attend that Monday night meeting, Amanda, that would be greatly appreciated. I will talk with the chairman and I will make sure you have plenty of time to kind of go over all this because it will be the county's first and those commissioners need to know what's going on.
I agree. I didn't,
What their
I
authority
had
is.
hoped somebody would say, I mean, I didn't, we may, to me, the county would be well worth paying her time to come, which you should. But I would think the work session, since would be most appropriate, then that gives them a week to take the education and look at it and have time to absorb everything. So I think the work session would be appropriate. If her schedule
What date is the work session?
is on a Monday.
This coming Monday?
Okay. So that's the, rezoning request. Next, we have a discussion of data center and regulations on data centers. Who, Rosalie, you gonna lead that or do you want to go on to public comment and then come back to the data centers?
Public comment would be great.
Well, I'm just saying if we have some people that they might not necessarily want to stick around for some dry data center regulations and stuff. Who do we have that would like, who would like to speak to the planning commission? Anyone? Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the planning commission? Sure. Just, yeah.
Well, we were just talking about.
Please state your name so that we can,
Yeah.
the secretary can get that in the minutes. Thank you.
This is Cicely Saputo. We were just talking about the topic on the traffic report and stuff like that. And I know that you guys have done a really good job of addressing all these concerns and thinking about them ahead of time. And it's not like what's being said here really matters because I know it's going forward to the commissioners and then it's going to be addressed there. But I just wanted to kind of voice my concerns or my thoughts in a sense about the fact that the traffic study, I don't know if it branches off of the main road that it's going on to. Is the traffic study just going to address Sulphur Lane or is it going to address Sulphur into 25? Because the way that it's proposed, it's just going to come out on Sulphur. And then also the consideration of the traffic that is there. And from what AI says, they already do consider the wrecks and the accident history there and stuff like that. But that's one thing I do want to take in consideration or hope is considered when moving forward. And I know that there's some commissioners here moving forward is that we do have a lot of wrecks there. We do have a lot of commercial vehicles going through there. And for that report to be done, especially when there's a transition of commissioners who hear the front end of it to hear the second round of commissioners when the report comes through, just for that to be, that knowledge to be bridged of what could potentially be seen and what we might be shown. You know what I mean? Like the report itself may only show to 25, as well as the people on the decision side of the two meetings may not be fully aware of what's been discussed and the concerns that are brought up today. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission during this public comment time? Okay. Now we'll move back up to data centers and regulations concerning data centers. As we all know, they're in the news a lot, especially if they're near a zoo. And I can understand that. I would hate to do anything to hurt animals, but Rosalie, would you like to kick this off?
Actually, I'd like to collaborate with Amanda. She sent me, we were talking about getting ordinances from surrounding counties, and I was asking if she had any knowledge of any really good ordinances about this, and she sent us two, which really spoke to her. One is even more inclusive than the other with definitions and everything. So Amanda, if you would like to go ahead and start on one.
Sure. Thank you. So these both are based off of ordinance or resolution that came out of Knox County. And the first thing I want to say is most communities that I work with are already imposing moratoriums on data centers for either 6 months or 1 year while they are considering regulations like these. They're doing that just because it is one of those things where this is a really big change for a lot of communities in terms of having to look at what they've got on the books, look at where, you know, the zone that might be most appropriate. Is it industrial? Is it manufacturing? Is it, you know, what zone is most appropriate? Is it commercial? Is it, you know, where are these things? And
a moratorium.
Mhm.
I would assume that has to come from the county commission.
Yes. And what generally happens is you get a recommendation from a planning commission. That isn't always the case, but that's generally, you know, generally what happens. At least the communities that I've worked with, and I've got 9 communities that I work for, and 6 of them have passed a moratorium. Or are in the process of passing a moratorium. So, you know, it's not just as simple as doing a simple text amendment and going, okay, we're going to change the width of a road from 24 feet to 30 feet. You know, it's not that simple. There's a lot that goes into it. There are definitions that go into it. There are zones to consider. There are size of facilities, there's wattage to consider, there are water resources, there are all of the things. There's huge utility impacts that are still yet to be discovered. So this is not just as something as, like I said, as simple as changing the width of a road or
Always is a big,
noise.
especially with the ones in Nashville.
Yes.
I've heard that on the news a lot. They talked about water, they talked about, electricity, but noise seems to be the primary thing that the neighbors and the surrounding businesses like the zoo and stuff. is
Yes.
Bringing up.
Yes, noise, vibrations.
Right.
You know, the vibrations that come from these centers. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. So I don't know where you all have been in terms of your discussions, at your legislative body. But anyway, Rosalie had asked, you know, for me to pull some things together, and these are two, that have made their way through their legislative bodies. So I decided to go ahead and bring those, and I can always go and data mine some more for you. But just off the top, these are two that I wanted to bring forward. They're not tailored for you all. Like I said, these are just examples that you can take a look at and kind of get an idea of what you all may want to take into consideration for you guys for your own regulations. So the one thing that I wanted to really focus on is the definitions. In most of your regulations, you've got the definitions for telecommunications centers or telephone buildings. You remember the old AT&T telephone buildings? Still have those, still need them. But this is different. So data center, a common definition that's being used is a building or buildings that are occupied primarily by computers and or telecommunications and related equipment, where digital information is processed, transferred, and or stored primarily to and from offsite locations. This use does not include computers or telecommunications related equipment that is secondary and customarily incidental to an otherwise permitted use on the property, such as servers associated with an office building. This use shall also include cryptocurrency mining, blockchain transaction processing, and server farms. A data center may include data center accessory uses. So I want to point out that this doesn't include like your servers for a regular office building that uses, you know, like an office medical building or,
Like
you
the
know.
school system has servers that
Right,
help run the school system.
right. We're talking about dedicated, go ahead.
So on that, what you, in the municipalities you've worked with,
Mm-hmm.
where's that distinction of size? What makes it a data center? Looking through the definition, I mean, I have my own little server at the house and I have an AI that I'm running on that server.
Mhm.
Do I constitute now a data center?
So we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Okay. So that comes a little bit further down. But let's finish getting through definitions. There's also a data center accessory use because you've got your big data centers like the one that we were talking about over by the zoo, the really, really
And
big
there's one
ones.
just right down the road in Gallatin.
And then there's the smaller ones. So those are referred to, I've seen them referred to as data center huts or fiber huts. Ancillary uses or structures secondary and incidental to a data center use, including but not limited to administrative, logical, fiber optic, storage, and security buildings or structures. Sources of electrical power such as generators used to provide temporary power when the main source of power is interrupted. Electrical substations, utility lines, domestic and non-contact cooling waste and wastewater treatment facilities, water holding facilities, pump stations, water towers, environmental controls, air conditioning or cooling towers, fire accessory uses, structures are located on the same tract or assemblage adjacent parcels, developed as a unified development with a data center. The use shall not include energy generation systems used or intended for use to supply power to a data center during normal operations. So those are the smaller ones that are used to help facilitate your larger ones. So your cooling stations that are specifically for your data centers. Then we get into the definition of essential public facilities and essential services. Essential public facilities and essential services are something that you would find in your zoning resolution today. So essential public services are publicly owned, operated, or regulated facilities that provide critical governmental, institutional, or regional services that may have significant land use, environmental, traffic, or community impacts requiring specialized siting consideration. And essential services, the erection, construction, alteration, or maintenance of public utility or municipal infrastructure necessary for the furnishing of water, sanitary sewer, stormwater, electricity, gas, telecommunications, transportation control, or similar services to the public. So those are some of the definitions that the town of White Bluff have been looking at. Coffee County just looked at just the data center and the data center accessory use. They didn't get into the definition of essential public facilities and essential services. Now, to Mr. Thomas's question, if you're looking at the town of White Bluff, they got into the decision to decide that data center and data center accessory uses shall be permitted by conditional use only in their I3 special impact district, only for any of the following situations: a single data center of greater than 10 megawatt capacity, any combination of data centers equaling a 10 megawatt capacity or more within a single acre of land, any data center in which the processing capacities are either unknown or the lessor, owner, or owners refuse to provide processing capacity under oath to the White Bluff Planning Commission and or the White Bluff Board of Zoning Appeals. So as long as you're under that, you're not considered. So if it's personal use and you've got a server room at your house, that's not considered a data center.
So I've already reached out to the, both the water department and the electric company to try to find out what the average uses for our industry is now, currently. I'm looking at bringing a proposal to codes and zoning for regulations on high water and electric use industry. I thought going more broad with it would keep us from any legal trouble of singling out one particular legal entity operating in the county. We've had a lot of training on that over the years of you can't just single out one business and make regulations for just one business. So my thought was to leave it a little more general, but the information you've given here with that information should make for a very strong set of zoning regulations that would cover both data centers and other entities in that same sector. So thank you. That did answer my questions, and that is what codes and zoning is working on.
Good.
Yeah, I would think that should a data center want to locate here, we could have the same kind of, I would foresee the same kind of attention that a rock quarry brings for the people in the area that they want to, where they would want to put it. I like the, I believe it was White Bluff who put it in a certain zone.
Yes.
Which is exactly the same thing that we did with or our county commission did with rock quarries. Because as we know, you can't just say, I don't want something. You've got, you've got to be smart about what you do there. But I would think that I think they're definitely as close as we are to Nashville. And when 141 is finished and with the quick access that that's going to provide, who knows, what's going to happen here. So I think that a recommendation from this body to the county commission for a 1-year moratorium to give codes and zoning the opportunity to work with Rosalie and everyone on our own best interest ordinance for this. Yes, sir.
And my thought was, as everyone is doing these moratoriums and making it harder and harder for them to start up, I know I've heard it addressed on the national media side multiple times now, especially by the president, that AI being a national security issue. And I would hate for the federal government to come in and then take all our control away from us because it's national security and they can put it wherever they want, just like they did TVA back years ago. So I think, but what we're working on currently, and what I've already started working on, if I can run congruently with this body, we can get something done before something comes in. I've talked with Helene at Tennessee Central, and she's already had several people reach out to her, several different companies. Everyone who's reaching out to her, she said, are all second and third gen data centers. So they're recycling their water. They're not constantly using fresh water to cool. They're working on, solar panels across the roof to reduce their electric. And so she was cautioning me not to be too stringent with regulations that I were to put forth. At the same time, she understood the need for regulation. So it is coming, especially if it's getting pushed out of Nashville because of a higher density population. Like you said, we're a prime target. So I think we need to continue moving, but I don't know if
I think it's good that you've had discussions with Tennessee Central and stuff. And I think with the Codes and Zoning Committee, having Tennessee Central in to discuss what they're seeing, because if one comes, that's where it's going to go. I mean, that is the most immediate industrial area in Trousdale County for anything. Where's that?
There's that 250 acre M2 farm sitting down the river. I can never remember the doctor's name.
Oh, is it?
It's not M2, it's M1.
M1, excuse me.
Okay. Well, we've
But yeah.
got two potential areas.
Yeah.
But that's why I think we need a moratorium and to give ourselves the opportunity to get ahead of this before I don't want to be reactive like we were with rock quarries. I want us to get it, because if we've learned anything here tonight, we need to make sure we get our rules and everything straight on the front end, because that's what they're going to go by, or have to go by. So, yeah. But I think involving Tennessee Central would be probably a good education and stuff.
It does, may I?
Sure.
It does look like both of these are, between Coffee and White Bluff, are very complementary to each other. Just some keynote facts that they're stating that you would not use public water within these agreements, so that it would not be taken from our pool, that they would use, now, where that would come from, that would be between them and the river, I guess. Meanwhile, like you're saying, Generation 3 systems, they've got the closed loop system where so they've got their wastewater and everything they're taking care of. But what I'm noticing is the state of Tennessee has 2 bills that are requiring anyone who's requesting for a data center over 20 megawatts will actually have to apply for a permit. And then there's also some restrictions on the House Bill 1847, I think, that's going in effect January 1 on if it's a 50 megawatt or more. So there's some new streamlining opportunities with the newer systems that are being created that are not as detrimental to your community that have been known in the past. I do agree. Education is that's the first thing we've got to know, because what we're hearing about today in this community is what we learned in the 60s and what our parents learned in the 60s and 70s when the last system was coming in. And so I think it's wise that we do create an opportunity and get ahead of this instead of, so we know what we're asking for and we know what our guidelines are. Because if I understand correctly, at the end of the day, if we put the guidelines out, they don't like it, they can go to BZA.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Sure.
Sorry, y'all.
Well, that's why you have a BZA.
There's an SP.
And I'm not so much worried about the federal government.
But, just so everyone, and I know I want to make sure you knew about the water that's in this plan that was presented, these 2 that were presented tonight, it's telling this community saying, you're not using our water.
Right.
You're going to have to find your own water.
I think that's a great
So-
definition to make sure.
Yeah. And then.
And
that-
there's a state law that I've heard about on TV that they can't, local electrical rates can't be raised to provide electricity for a data center.
House Bill
But
2390.
again, if we double down on that in our own ordinances, then we're just that much better off.
No, that's only on data centers 20 megawatts and above.
Okay.
So if there's anything below that. And do know that in 1970, when we were hearing, okay, yeah, I was born that, I wasn't that old. But anyway, I just didn't live here. But in the 70s, when we were hearing about that, a data center was the creation of IBM. It's actually what was serving your water and sewer departments. I mean, it was a small, something in a commercial building or light manufacturing, and that's not what we're looking at today. Now they're looking at really pulling off of our grid that we use for our community and our growth that we've got. But we also need them to survive because we've got to have, it's got to be a good balance between the two, but they can't deplete us. And so thank you for bringing this to the table.
Yes, sir.
But that was why I wanted to reach out to the electric department and try to find out what the average usage already is, because I didn't want to set the usage so high that, well, it's why even have it? And I didn't want to set it so low that average industry that we do want to come in would be penalized also and having to meet these same regulations. The other thing is back in the 70s, you had vibration issues because you had spinning drives. Now you have solid state drives. So you don't have that spinning, that vibration as much as you did then.
The only thing I remember spinning in the 70s was my head, because I was an idiot back then.
So yeah, coffee says you have to be M2, you can't be M.
It'll need to be in a heavy industrial. M1 is light industrial.
So does anyone want to make any kind of motion for the county commission to consider any type of moratorium?
I'll make that motion for recommending a 1-year moratorium.
I have a motion by Cal to recommend to the county commission that they consider a 12-month moratorium on data centers until giving the codes and zoning time to research and come up with something. Have a second by Katie. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay. What is it? 8-1? No, 7-1. Have 7 yeses, 1 no. All right. Anything else to come before the planning commission this evening? Okay. You have something?
So just giving a report, I know I sent
Oh.
out an email to everybody.
Yeah.
Concerning the Center for Local Planning that's been created. You were invited to apply to attend the pilot program for the Planning Academy. They had 70 applicants, and out of 70 applicants, they had 30 that they accepted, and I was one of them. And I had my very first Planning Academy meeting last Thursday. It was very interesting. It was a very good scope of what planning commissioners, their expectations, what they're really responsible for. And we really do a very good job as planning. We really do. There's more that we need to do, and that's okay. It's an opportunity. I know we've talked about comprehensive plans, and the Planning Commission really holds the purse strings to the comprehensive plan. And so we need to look at possibly working on ours. Also, what we really need to do as well, if those of you that didn't have an opportunity to listen to the planning for the BZA, please make sure that you look at that video. We have extra packets. It talks about updating your bylaws. We need to update our bylaws. Our bylaws were written in 1974. And it also includes the bylaws for the BZA. So working in conjunction with our combined ordinances and with our bylaws from 1974, we need to make sure that we are dotting all our i's and crossing all our t's Are we doing everything that we're supposed to be doing according to, and you can go back and listen to the training that Amanda did. It was excellent. Public comment was one of the items. We added it to our agenda. You will see that from now on. And not only do they get to make a public comment about anything on the agenda, it's about anything they want to talk about at all. You know, I like to plant marigolds, you know, or I really like ribeye steak. They could say whatever they would like to do. So next month, we will be looking at bylaws as well. So the training that we had during the BZA, you'll get credit for that. And then also us looking through the data center. Amanda had mentioned that us working through all of that, you would also be given credit for training for working through our data center information. So, and I think the arduous journey that we had on our PUD discussion too would also count towards planning. I will be bringing more information. It's every 2 weeks that they'll be having classes. This will go up until December. A lot of great information, and I'll be compiling that and bringing it to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy night. HUDs, artificial ignorance, data centers, informative. Yes, sir.
Rosalie, I also saw that effective January 1st, the state is enforcing deadlines on inspections and permit approvals. Have you seen that? And if so, are you going to be, because from what I saw in the article I read on it was that if you miss the deadline on an inspection, it automatically gets approved. That's going to be the new default. That concerns me with the workload that your office has.
So as far as that verbiage, I have not seen that verbiage. I know that when they adopted the third-party inspectors, there was deadlines associated with permit applications for approval, plan reviews, inspections, everything. As far as that information, as far as if it's not happened within that deadline, it's automatically approved. I'll need to look at that. That's not what I remembered and recalled from the various trainings that I've attended. That would be very imprudent to do something like that, an automatic approval, because I can just say I've seen some things.
Amanda just told me that 60 days after that, it is automatically approved. So
60 days.
that's your Tennessee General Assembly in action.
So inspection, even with third-party inspectors, it was more stringent, the deadline for inspections, plan approvals, permit applications. It's never gone 60 days. We were always shooting for at least within 7 days to 2 weeks to have an inspection done, once it's been requested, if they've given us all the information for permits and everything like that.
I just wanted to make sure that the state wasn't screwing the county over one more time.
I thought that was their job. You ought to be in the school system. You want to see a bunch of kids screwed on. All right, guys, appreciate y'all being here. Been a good meeting, a lot of education and just good discussion. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Noller, second by Shutter. We are adjourned.